Welcome, faithful viewers, to Obscurum. It's our first episode, but it's going to be a wild ride already. Obscurum is brought to you by Nerdsmith, and by World Anvil, and Die Hard Dice. Speaking of, before we dive in, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget there's a chance that you can win Die Hard Dice. So stay tuned, details will be posted in the channel. In the meantime, welcome to City of Mist, or as we like to call it, the City. All sorts of shenanigans get down, all over the place. Doesn't matter if you're a dame with legs for days, or a fella hard down on his luck. The city is always changing. The city is veiled in a mist that obscures things from the average Joe, the sleepers as they're called, but reveals great power to those who are rifts for things of legend, such as our party this evening. Last episode, a prelude for things to come. Our group met at a gala, an invitation each handed out to one of another, printed on vellum with no name as to who sent them the invite. But all of them showed, dressed in most cases, their finest, or at least the finest they could get. There was an awards ceremony for a fellow by the name of Abel Benning, an aging actor who, despite his age, showed peculiar signs as he bashed and gave harsh words to the crowd about the sycophantic nature of their attitudes. And all the while the crowd drank it in, with the exception of a few individuals. They seemed to see right through the veil that he was putting up. After a short speech, he left the stage with Toady in tow, and as the auditorium, our four adventurers, our four intrepid folk of the city, stood around, recognizing that there was something different about each one of them. What it was yet to be unveiled. However, all things, as they do, come in time. They made their way out to the lobby where they saw our actor making kind words with some of the people as they were leaving, and some unkind words with a fellow that they all know in passing, an alleged gang member named Frank Castellini. They seemed to exchange gripes and a harsh word before our crew interrupted. Abel explained, as he realized that they saw through all the words that he had, that they too could sense the veil, the mist around them, and something that... They made their way out to the front steps. A Cadillac came ripping around the corner, suicide door open and the metal tube of a Tommy poking out. Gunfire hailed like staccatos to music as it rained bullets around the steps, but it only struck one person. The attaché to the actor, a man by the name of Richard. As he fell, our heroes quickly fell into action, some trying to give chase, others shielding the rest of them from sight, and someone pulling off some fantastic moves of healing the young man. They quickly climbed into the back of Professor Owen's vehicle and peeled away, leaving nothing but rain and dust as they went. Made their way to the hospital, and on the way they learned that what Frank wanted was the power that Abel had to kind of enthrall and ensorcel people. They ran off to the nearest hospital where they deposited Richard to get looked over along with Abel. The last words that they understood were that Frank wanted Abel to pull off a heist at the central bank. A tall structure, a skyscraper, a testament to the ingenuity of man. They made plans, but not before peeling back to Professor Owen's place. for a bit of a nightcap and a discussion on what they could do to help out the actor. Dawn breaks the next the bank. The time? 8 o'clock. As they peel up quietly in the vehicle, the luxury vehicle of Professor Owens, all of them tucked in the cabin of the vehicle, along with the unique driver of the vehicle. Plans are already in motion, as you can see Abel making his way towards the front of the bank, looking around, his head turning left and right. A driver's cap on his head, a scarf around his neck, his gloves off and in his hand. He seems to be ringing them about. There's your man, and you know what's going down. So as we start City of Mists and Obscurum, party, what are you doing? Who's taking my spotlight?
Well, I suppose I will. Well, the first thing I do is to sort of have as many possible ways to deal with issues as possible. I first turn my driver back into the scarab beetle, what he once was.
Shrinking down to the diminutive form.
Yep. I pick him up out of his seat and then place him in the terrarium. One of many terrariums I have in the car, hidden away.
As you pick up the scarab beetle and place him in the terrarium, let's flash back to the night before. Jack, you pull up to the professor's place. It's a nice manor. Big place. Kind of place that smells of money. You step inside and you can't stop but trip over a copper penny. But more importantly is the unique cast of characters he has there at the manor. Professor Owens, would you like to introduce your cavalcade?
So the first person who would meet the four of us would be Vespa, my butler, who is a wasp. Along with Johnson, a caterpillar, who is the chef. And walking around is also John, a stick bug, who's my personal librarian.
You just keep these guys here, like, all the time?
Well, of course, they're my own personal staff. Where else would I keep them?
I don't know, I kind of figured they had, dirt houses in the backyard or something.
Oh, no. They're much more civilized now.
I am never going to get used to this.
It took me a while too, but don't worry about it.
Where's the liquor?
Vespa, if you wouldn't mind. And then she nods her head and goes to where the liquor is stored. The bar, probably.
Following the wasp.
And it is. It's a giant wasp with hands and fingers, and it looks more Pixar animated than like, realistic looking. It looks almost anthropomorphic. Yvonne, or how are you taking all of this as you walk up to see these interesting creatures that are walking around helping him out?
I'm used to being around strange things. Granted, they're usually set pieces and props and screen magic, but after everything that's taken place in my own life the last couple of weeks and everything that happened at the gala tonight, I think I'm beyond the point of being surprised by weird things and just sort of walking around and taking in not just the surroundings as well, trying to size up Professor Owens as a person by his belongings, looking through his bookcase, pictures that he might have on the walls, things like that.
All right. So you're sizing him up.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and do this for me? Let's have you roll. Let's just have you roll an investigate check.
Great. And I would like to use from my ready for my close-up routine, my read people tag.
Excellent. So, the way this works, my dear audience, each one of the characters is created by asking a series of questions. You can have logos, which is your everyday life, and your mythos, your tie into this legendary thing that flows through you. You can be touched and have just a little bit of magic or mythos inside, or you can be all the way on the other side where you've mostly mythos and just very little logos. What she's doing is she's drawing from a logo. She's applying a tag that is answered through the question. And with the roll of 2d6 plus that power tag, we'll find out the results of what happened. All right. And with a hearty 10, a good result. He is a man of knowledge. You gather that he's quite erudite when it comes to dealing with all things entomological. What the pictures you see around, though, are very few of him. A lot of, well, I shouldn't say very few of him. A lot of him and an older person, an older gentleman. And you can see that they seem to be of close contact. You get the idea that this is either father or mentor or somebody who taught him. But it seems to be a family that comes from money.
Professor, who is this in the photographs with you? You seem to be pictured with him frequently. Is this a family member, a professor that you've worked with?
Oh yes, it's my uncle, my late uncle Oliver. He came here from England, as much before I did though. And he started one of the largest chemical manufacturing plants in the area. Still is in production to this day. It's where the family has gotten all its money.
Do you mind if I ask how long he's been gone? And I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you. And no, it's not a problem. He's been gone for about 10 months now.
So recent. I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it. But thank you.
I can tell he's had a great impact on you.
Oh, definitely. He was the one who got me through college to where I am today, which was quite the fantastic gift.
Looking around the place, Jack, you can definitely see that, yep, he definitely comes from money, but he doesn't seem to be one of those who stares down at you from the end of his nose. Dr. White, what is your impression of our new friend, Professor Owens?
I think that coming into the house and seeing the servants, after having seen the driver, I turned to him. Do they talk, or how do they understand you?
So yes, they are capable of full vocalization, but it takes a while after they're not bugs anymore for them to begin to speak, but they can take orders immediately.
I see. And relatively clean in the sense of who you have doing which job. As I mentioned, I could desperately use something to eat, and I hope you don't have a dung beetle in the kitchen or something.
Oh, don't worry yourself about that. They maintain as much standards as any human would.
Wonderful. And I will start to just kind of wander around looking for the kitchen, having used the powers to help heal in the incident this night. One of the side effects of his ability to heal people is that it doesn't necessarily take a toll in the sense that he is damaged, but it
Mhm.
works his system so it could make him very hungry or it could exhaust him, depending on
Right.
how bad the wound is.
And this was a pretty bad one, but not enough to conk you out, but definitely enough to make you hungry. As a matter of fact, Professor Owens, while you're having polite conversation with Dr. White, there is a small sound of a rumbling stomach as he wanders away to find something to eat.
I I tell my chef Johnson to help him out in the kitchen. He sort of
Excellent.
walks away. It's a giant monarch caterpillar, humanoid though.
And as you find something to eat, Jack, you try to drink to see if this fevered dream will disappear and find yourself sleeping one off in your couch.
It's worth a
Yvonne
try.
looking around in wonder, we're going to move back to the present time. You see Abel now standing in front of the central bank. The doors are still closed as of right now. The time for opening is 8:30. After wringing his hands for a few minutes, you watch as a thin man wearing a suit that's ill-fitting. It kind of falls off the shoulders a bit, and it bunches at the ankles, as opposed to being a nice, crisp cut. He walks up to him, his shoulders slouched. You can see that they're exchanging a conversational bit. But you're still in the vehicle a bit too far away to hear. What are you doing?
I think I turn to everyone and say, it looks like it's time for us to move closer. I don't want to start my illusion until the last possible moment because it's harder for me to maintain for a long time. But I think we need to move in, and I think I should start the illusion before we move in because we don't know who else is watching the building. And I, for one, am recognizable regardless, but we all may be recognizable after last evening. So unless anybody else has anything we need to do before, I think we need to move on.
I do. So, I take it would be in a terrarium. I take a terrarium out from somewhere, and it has a little dragonfly in it. And I take it out and, make it
Full-sized?
Full size, yeah, that's the word.
Okay. So you using your powers to make this thing enlarged.
Yep.
Okay.
Where's the button?
All right. So what are you doing with this now? Oh, no.
Yikes. That's a 4.
You go to try to use your ability to enlarge this creature, making it look and appear normally or as large as a regular person. However, it's taxing your system, and as you go to do so, you realize you may have pushed a little bit harder than what you meant to. And for a brief moment, you get a little winded, and unfortunately, it doesn't work. It's still the same size. Take a moment to compose yourself. Maybe you'll try again in a few more minutes. But for now, it's still a dragonfly.
All right. Before it flies off, I put it back in the terrarium so it doesn't. Yeah.
All right. You guys can
Professor?
move in on foot.
Oh, Professor, can we move forward without that?
Yes. I'll try and transform it later. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. I just figured it would be nice to have some aerial support.
All right, then. I think we should move in. And I would like to cast an illusion over us that is basically just changing our appearance to the people, anybody watching us as we walk down the street or inside the bank once we get there.
Okay.
Nothing major, but just enough to hide our true identity from anybody that may be watching.
All right. So you're going to use changing the game to make yourselves appear differently. Which tags are you going to be using for this one?
from imaginary circumstances, I think this will be a partial illusion because I'm not changing everything. It's not immersive, just us. And can I sell you on, from You're Going to Love Me, manipulate your desires, that there is just no compelling interest in paying much attention to any of us?
You know what? I like it. Sure.
Great. And that is an 11.
All right. Excellent. Great success. So, what do you guys make yourselves look like? Just average people out on the town?
Yeah, it's really trying to make us blend in as much as possible. And so sort of nondescript, nothing terribly, standout-ish about any of us, just ordinary bank goers going about our business this morning.
Excellent. Do you keep this illusion up for all of you, or do you still see yourselves? How does it appear to you?
I believe that we still see each other. I wouldn't cast this on us so that we don't get confused.
So you're just changing the eyes of everyone else around you.
Yes.
All right. As you manipulate the mist, making it roll around and cascade and make people change their appearance, at least outwardly, to everybody else around you. Jack, we're going to flash back again to last night. When you were on the steps, there was gunfire, but when you looked back, no one was looking at the doctor, who was doing something fantastic. And these large creatures, these giant ants that were standing on the steps. But you did see Yvonne in concentration.
Once we were alone in the car, I would have struck up a conversation about that. Hey, were you the one that was keeping everyone from seeing what's going on? You mentioned something about that.
Yes, you mean when Dr. White was attending to Richard?
Yeah. And when there were giant bugs and the whole
Yes. Since the storm a few weeks ago, I have discovered that some of the things that I've always attributed to just my skills as an actress seem to have, shall we say, expanded. I don't want to sound like I'm being immodest, but I've always had sort of a compelling nature to me. It's part of what makes me successful as a screen actress. And now I can almost push that to a level of making people not notice anything but me if I want to. That, along with the fact that illusion that I've always created for myself when I'm on screen, when I'm on stage, when I'm in a scene, I seem to be able to make those become almost real now, and not only for myself, but for anyone that I choose to target with it. And so it was somewhat of a combination of those things that I applied when Dr. White asked for a distraction. I basically drew everyone's attention to me and sort of made them not see anything that I didn't want them to see.
Okay, I have absolutely no idea how that works, but that is fascinating.
I'm not sure I know how it works either, Jack.
Hey, for tonight, I guess seeing is believing. So, yeah, I'll just roll with that. Sure. Can change what people see, can pull all eyes to her.
And he's writing furiously in his notes. We flash back to today. You can see yourselves moving just past Abel. The gentleman with him doesn't seem to notice at all, but you kind of look as Abel kind of doesn't turn his face, but his eyes dart in your direction for a moment. You're pretty sure he doesn't recognize you for who you are, but he may recognize that something's going on. About the time that you guys pass through, you can see that the man, the thin guy in the ill-fitting suit, makes his way up to the door. He raps on it. You see a person, a security guard, come to the door. Doesn't make a move as he looks at the door and he taps his watch. The guy in the suit does like this. The security guard holds up 5 fingers and just shrugs. You can hear faintly through the glass, the thick glass, 5 more minutes. We'll be open in 5 more minutes. He turns and shrugs at Abel, and Abel just kind of goes and sits down on a bench nearby. He shrugs and says, well, there's nothing doing for it. We have to wait 5 minutes. We have to wait 5 minutes. Come on, old bean. Sit down. We'll wait. The thin man looks nervous as he starts to chew on a thumbnail. Nothing seems to get past him, though, as his eyes are completely locked on a fire hydrant that's just in front of him. He's looking across the street. There's a Cadillac parked there, long and lean. Sharp angles. One of the newer ones. You can see it's lost a lot of the round signs of the older models. But it sits there big and kind of a dusky yellow color. Inside of it, you see a man lean back in the chair just enough that his profile is hidden a bit. Jack, you're familiar with this look. This is a man who looks like he's ready to put that car into drive and speed away when the time is necessary.
Elbowing the nearest of us in the ribs.
Probably our poor Dr. White.
Hey, see the caddy. Clear signs of a driver.
Yes, I suppose that's where we should keep an eye out if we're going to try to follow after the fact, depending on how this goes.
Hey, Professor, any way to put a bug on it?
I certainly can try. Yes, can I try to do the dragonfly again? I'm also going to take another bug from out of my pocket. Another yellow crazy ant from last night.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right, so you're going to try and change both of them at the same time?
yes.
Okay.
Because I have my Might of Masses tag. So I figure that would give me 3 power with entomological variations and specialist species tagged on as well.
I'm going to give you a condition, though, because you're going to be doing this in broad daylight. Even though you are chained, the bugs aren't. So let's go ahead and just give you add one environmental challenge to that. So it'll knock it down by 1 point. But you're still looking at, what, a roll of 3?
Yes.
Awesome. So power. So go ahead and roll. Change the game +3 for that power.
That is a 10.
Excellent. Great success. You turn quickly. And they both change into the larger size that they should be, or that you want them to be. What are you doing with them?
So I tell the ant to stay with us. Mm-hmm. And then I tell the dragonfly to walk around a corner, take off, and then just watch that car.
I just had a crazy moment of the old Pink Panther cartoon with the dragonfly.
Mm.
Some of you may be too young for that, but anyways. All right, so you tell the dragonfly to get around the corner and take off to get flight and keep an eye on the car. Is that right?
Yes, and
awesome.
I'm putting acid spraying on the ant and fast flight on the dragonfly, both at 1.
Okay, so each of those have a 1 on that, and you are there. There is a loud sound of a lock being turned. The door is opened and a stop is put in place, and you can see now that the bank is open. The security guard is standing there as a small group of people ready to do business for the day start to gather around. They push their way in. At this point in time, the man nudges Abel. Abel stands and makes his way into the bank nonchalantly. The security guard, "Hey, aren't you?" And he just smiles and nods and continues in with the thin man in the ill-fitting suit following behind him. Looks like the play is on. Yvonne, you still have everybody disguised. What are you guys doing now?
I personally would like to, first of all, not look like we're all in a group. So I'm taking a few steps away from them and maybe rifling through my purse to see if, to look like I'm looking for paperwork or something that I would need for business in the bank, but also trying to follow a few steps behind Abel, close enough that if he gets any instruction from anyone, hopefully I can hear it. And I'm hoping that that he stays in the main room of the bank, that he stays in sight where I can continue to track him, but I'm going to stay with him as long as I can.
Excellent. Easy enough to do. You can see that he's kind of making his way towards the center of the bank. The man is quick on his elbow. The man in the ill-fitting suit. As you get inside, Dr. White, you've been in situations like this before. Your extracurricular activities taking you to a situation where you have to read kind of a bad thing going on. Something is not right. Something seems hinky.
I want to go to the little island in the middle of the room where all of the check and the deposit stubs are.
Sure.
And act like I'm starting to write one out, and I want to scan the room and see if I can spot anything that seems out of place for this early in the morning on a business day.
Sure thing. This is a large room with cascading or with tall pillars made of marble that go all the way to big cathedral vaulted ceilings. You can see large chandeliers hanging. There's not one but 3 of them. There's probably 18 different teller windows, the old school with the low glass where you can actually talk face to face with one another. At either end, you can see large desks set up into small cubicles there on the main floor, as well as desks that are locked away. There are doors that lead on either end of the teller stations into the back area, where you can assume either more offices or the vault is, things like that. As you take seat or stance there at the island, filling out your sheet, go ahead and investigate the room for me.
And I think that since she has us disguised, Dr. White pulls out a set of glasses that are very dark and thick. They are his lenses of Lorm, which are part of what grants him his powers. And I would like to add an eye for illness to try to get a sense of just what is not right here.
Seeing how they let you see the things that don't quite fit or the things that are out of place, yeah, I think that's a good tag to add to this. Excellent. Okay. You pull the glasses on and you scan the area. You can pick up on a few other people that aren't filling out any sheets. They're not standing in line with the tellers. They seem to be looking around like they're casing the joint. And as you scan the room, you're not sure what happened, but maybe it's just you looking for too long. One of the men spots you as you're looking at him, and he kind of says, "What are you doing? What are you looking at, bub? Keep your eyes to yourself."
Sorry, I just was... You ever have a number you couldn't remember? I think it's just stomach ache. I just can't seem to pull the number to the front of my head. Excuse me 1 second. And I cup a hand to my mouth and make a beeline to the bathroom.
He kind of pulls his hands up and kind of like steps out of the way as you look like you're going to be sick and make your way towards one of the restrooms at the far end. Yvonne, how far out can you cast that? Because while I can see you guys being spread out a little bit, at some point in time, you're going to reach a threshold where that's going to be no longer a random citizen.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that, we've established, so I am happy to defer to your, as the MC, your desires on that. But yeah, I do think it makes sense. I rolled a full success, so I think it's pretty powerful, but if he gets too far away, then yes, I won't be able to maintain it.
And sure enough, as you make your way into the bathroom, you catch the mirror with big oval mirrors, and even the bathroom attendant just kind of looks startled for a second as you're still wearing the glasses as you slide into the room.
Excuse me, the headache. It helps with the sun.
Oh, all right.
Do you have anything for antacid or anything for the stomach?
Sure. And you watch as the older gentleman, his hair white, his face sagging a little bit, and his skin a little bit pale. You can see he doesn't get out much, but he reaches over and turns on the sink for you, and then hands you. He hands you, yes, a bicarbonate tablet, and it smells thick of mint, and you know it's chalky. You're used to them. You've given them out to your own patients. But yeah, it goes down pretty smooth. He then offers you a glass of water there.
Yeah. And I think that as I drink the water, I try to look out the corner of my eye at his basket and see if there's something that I can think of that I might be able to ask him for that he doesn't have at the moment, but might have in the building. Like if there's maybe if aspirin or, you know, something else that might be normal to have that he doesn't seem to have a stock of.
You can see small pocket squares. You also see sticks of gum. You see a couple of packs of Pall Malls, and you see mints, like little a small tin of mints there. Several of those lined up in the basket. He kind of, is there anything else I can get for you, sir?
Yes. Do you have any aspirin or anything like that for headache?
I think I've got some there. Not here though. I'll have to go to the cabinet and get it if you want to wait here, or I can bring it out to you in the lobby if you would prefer.
Yes, if you don't mind running and grabbing it, I'm actually going to wash my face off, get a little fresh air, or a little fresh water, rather. Whew.
Certainly. And he lays out a towel for you when you're done. And then he exits the room. Not sure where he goes to, but he exits the room. So you are now alone in the bathroom.
Yeah, so as soon as the door closes, I put the glasses back on, and I'm going to use my other power set, which is mobility, called Where There's Smoke. And this allows me to take a smoke form and travel in it. So I'm going to turn to smoke and go into the air vent so that I can get to some of the other rooms and have a look around.
All right. And as you do, your form shifting and transforming into this smoke, this ethereal, misty smoke. We're going to flash back. And I'm going to spotlight Jack once more. Jack, you're a normal guy, an average Joe. You work a beat, you work your cases. At the end of the day, you just hope to have enough meal to hit the diner on the corner, grab a cup of coffee, maybe a sandwich, call it a night. These people, not only do they all seem to have some sort of established income, but now they have all these supernatural abilities. But what most struck you last night, not the turning of the creatures into the insects into large creatures like human-like, not even the disguising of everybody where they were all disappearing, but you watched that man take 2 slugs from a 45, and he got up and there was not a wound, a scratch, a mark on him. Dr. White pulled that off.
So when we're all sitting in Professor Owen's lounge, I'll bring that up. Hey, doctor, I noticed that look, that mantle you adopted. And I've been hearing rumors about that going around town. You got anything to share?
Yes, I'd love to tell you what to call it, what to call me, but I never really thought of it, and the media hasn't really settled on anything.
Yeah, some of them have called you the Plague Doctor or the Night Doctor.
Yes. really the focus really is the doctor part. I realize that the look of the plague doctor is one that strikes terror into people, but historically, at least at the beginning, they were trying to do the right thing. But it all stems from these glasses, and he pulls them out of his jacket and holds them up again. These, believe it or not, I found in an operating room at an abandoned hospital that I was repair it. They were just sitting there, shiny as they are now, in a place filled with dust and rot and mold. And taking a look at them, I knew that there was something historical about them, and I did a little research and found that they seem to belong to Charles de la Orme, who was one of the original plague doctors who designed this uniform. And, well, it comes with the unique desire to heal, which I already had, so I won't lie, it takes a lot out of me. And I think that as he's having this conversation, there are like 2 meals worth of food in front of him that he is going through. Ever since I started using them, the pull to use them more has become powerful. I've even taken up training. The first time I went out to try to help people, I almost got myself killed. And so I, in my spare time, have started to practice Hapkido as a way to defend myself without actually severely hurting somebody, because that would kind of be the opposite of why I'm trying to help.
What about the other rumors about the turning into smoke?
Yes, that is also true. And he gets a little flustered at this. That's part that I can't quite explain or even find a historical reason why this would be connected to De La Orme. But I can turn into smoke, and not like mist, but it is smoke. And he will put the glasses on and let a little bit of the smoke trail down his body. And as he does, this plague doctor's mask forms in the long robes. And there's a little bit of smoke billowing off, and it smells like campfire smoke. Like, it does not just have no smell or mist. It has a very distinct smell to it.
It's not Stygian or brimstone or anything else like that. Like burning wood at a campfire site. Okay. Not unpleasant.
That is fascinating and terrifying.
Yes, it is certainly the element of this that, but while finding very useful, I find very perplexing.
Thank you, Doctor.
Cutting back to the day you find yourself moving up into the vent. Before we do that, though, you are going to be changing the game a little bit on me. So go ahead and give me that tag, please.
I am, and I think that I think I can apply all of my mobility tags here. I have smoke form. Well, you know what? I'm not going to use smoke screen, actually, because I don't want to create more smoke than I need to move myself.
Right.
But I will use through the cracks, which allows me to get through into any place that's not airtight.
Okay. You're doing this pretty quickly. So he's still out of the room. There doesn't seem to be any environmental or situational differences here. So yeah, feel free to go ahead and roll that. Okay.
That is a 9.
Okay. You slip through the vent right about the time you hear the door shut to the swing shut to the entrance to the bathroom. You hear somebody burning something in here? And hello, are you still in here? And you see the attendant start to look for you, trying to figure out where you went to, not seeing you outside. He quickly, though, turns and leaves the room again, and you can hear him faintly crying, "Did anybody see where the nicely dressed man went to? Hello, anyone? Had some strange glasses?" Outside of the bathroom, in the main foyer, the lobby of this gigantic bank, Down at the far end near the bathrooms, you see an older white gentleman with slicked back white hair going, "Did anybody see a fella come out wearing some glasses? Said his eyes and his head hurt. I had some aspirin for him, but I can't find it." Jack, you notice some people standing around the room, not filling out anything. They seem to be waiting for something. Abel is currently standing in line as though he's going to deposit something. The guy with the ill-fitting suit seems to be, again, quick at his elbow. You can't really see anything, but he seems to be sticking to him like glue. Being the man of the streets you are and the service that you've had, something seems off.
Finding a corner, trying to get out of sight of the people that are clearly here watching too. I want to see if I can spot anyone that's got a straight eye on the spot in front of the teller where Abel will be standing, or more importantly, where his more vulnerable little friend will be standing.
Okay. Go ahead and give me an investigate as you're looking around the room. Tell me which tags you're going to use to kind of accentuate this. Jack tasted PI.
As a hard-nosed detective, I'm using Private Dick. From my training, I'm also using crime scene investigation.
Okay.
Is that scene applicable before there's a crime?
Yeah, because you know there's going to be. So you would kind of and you kind of get the idea this is going to be a bank heist, so you would know what's going to go in with that. So I'll allow you to use that tag. Sure.
You know what? I have a lot of things that apply to this. I also have, when I see it, I'll know.
Mm-hmm.
Logical deduction.
Mm-hmm.
And common sense.
You know what? I dig it. Let's do it.
That gives me a power of 5.
All right, go for it. Let's see how it goes.
The goal is to get enough power so you don't actually have to roll dice.
It's easy enough to do with that.
Got a 12.
Yeah, you absolutely spot. So the lobby has a balcony that overlooks it because it's a large building and it's designed for more than just the function of the bank. And sure enough, you can see on the balcony, opposite of where you're standing, tucked in your corner, a guy who's got his arms crossed, leaning on the railing. He's just kind of looking down at the man in the ill-fitting suit, as well as Abel. His eyes, though, aren't trained on the man in the ill-fitting suit. They're trained on Abel. Standing next to him is a familiar face, one that you've seen. Not one that you know intimately, but you've seen him because you helped him last night. Standing next to him is Richard. Richard is sweating bullets. He looks nervous. He looks like any second now something is going to go down. Along with these two individuals, you also see standing at one of the islands, looking up, taking a really long time to fill out his deposit slip or withdrawal slip, is another guy in a similar suit. His fits a little bit better. He's broad of shoulder, but what really stands out is the fact that he's packing heat. Easily make out the telltale signs of a revolver and a shoulder holster underneath the jacket. The man's leaning across the rail, moves, shifts just slightly. You can see he's also carrying a piece. And the ill-fitting suit, now you understand. As he steps forward, or kind of steps behind Abel just a little bit, and he shifts in turn, the jacket lines up perfectly, and you can see that he's also carrying a piece. Not a revolver, though. Something else. It's not small. It hangs the length of his body inside of his suit. And it looks like it kind of bounces in there. Mare's leg, or maybe a sawed-off shotgun or something.
Oof. Immediately trying to spot a way up to the balcony where I won't be noticed.
Okay, you see a lift at the end nearest to you. You can make your way up there. It does seem to have an elevator attendant, but he doesn't seem to be stopping anybody. are asking questions. There are offices up on the second floor, so it makes sense that people would go there. And again, the building is a skyscraper. It's a tall iron building. So there are other floors that people are going to. The only thing he's asking is, which floor he can push for you, and that's it.
Take me to the mezzanine.
Yes, sir. Be happy to. And he steps inside the elevator, allowing you entrance. Anybody else? He kind of gives a cry out locally, just kind of around him. Mezzanine? Anyone else? Any mezzanine? Excellent. And he shuts the grated door and then pushes the button. Another door comes down, and then it lifts you guys up. It opens up, and he slides the grated door back for you, allowing you exiting the building. He says, "Have a wonderful day. You need, just let us know." And he slides it back, and you hear the ding as the elevator descends back to the first floor.
You're a champ.
Have a great day. The man's probably about 60 feet in front of you. You can see the railing coming around, and he's standing not at right above where where Abel and the ill-fitting suit guy are. They're standing down just a little bit so that they can get an angle down on where they're at and not lose sight of them. Abel is now probably second in line.
Judging that doesn't give me very much time, I'm going to try to see if I can make my way to behind him for out of line of sight and come up behind him, quietly drawing a pistol.
Okay. The one thing you do notice as you are creeping down there and you move your trench coat out, you pass by a mirror, decorative thing. It's more like a polished steel with this weird gold flecking that kind of runs through it. And you can see that you're no longer disguised. You look just like you.
Worry about that later.
All right. So you're going to try to sneak up behind him. That's a risky move.
Yeah, sounds like I'm taking a risk.
Sounds like you are taking a risk to me. I'm going to go ahead and let you figure out your power tags and give me that roll. In the meantime, we're going to smooth the spotlight back to Yvonne and Professor Owens. You guys are still down on the first floor. You can see that Abel is probably moved up to about the second in line now.
And since I followed him, is it fair to say that I could be in line directly behind him?
Absolutely, that would be reasonable.
Okay, great. As I followed him, I grabbed a couple of deposit slips from the table in the center of the room, and I'm going to take one of those right now. I've been, fiddling with it and scribbling on it and whatnot, but I'm going to write on it, "They can't read this. Pretend like you're filling it out, but tell me what they've asked you to do." And I would like to hand it to him and say, "Excuse me, sir, I don't normally handle the banking. My husband does it. Could you just look over this deposit slip and make sure that I filled it out properly? And I would like to ensure that the gentleman that is flanking him only sees numbers."
Okay. So you're taking a risk because you're very close to the enemy, to the guy there with the ill-fitting suit. But you're also using an ability that you have to obscure things. As slick as that is, let's see what's applicable here. I definitely think your illusion is going to be in play here, and it's kind of an ongoing thing right now. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. You know what? Yeah, we're just going to do the dialogue. I'm going to come right back to that in a moment. Jack, how did you do?
I think I have one tag that applies to this and
Okay.
2 weakness tags, unless...
I know what
unless
one
you
of them is
disagree.
already.
I have a power tag of Private Dick that I think would give me an edge in this situation, but I have the weakness of no badge, no backup, as well as a weakness of like a sore thumb now that I'm no longer under the illusion.
I'm going to say in this particular situation, you may not stick out like a sore thumb. At a gala where everybody's dressed nicely and you're just a PI, yeah, I would say that is the situation where you would stick out like a sore thumb. I definitely agree with you with the no badge, no backup. So we'll say you have one weakness tag that's applicable there.
And 1 power tag, so that gives
and
me a
1
net
power
0.
tag. So net 0. So let's see how you do.
Oh, that is a 5. That's a miss.
As you're trying to sneak up behind him, there's a ficus, a potted plant. You're trying your best to sneak around, but you hit it. The metal stand that it's in rings loudly as it gives you a whoop, 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 and there's a clatter as it hits the wall behind it. The guy immediately turns and looks at you and says, "What do you want?" And you can see he's reaching a hand inside of his jacket.
I have my hand inside my jacket as well, and I'm going to say, hold it. Neither of us wants a commotion. I think you got a fella there that doesn't want to be here.
This ain't your problem, mister. And he does not hesitate. He pulls the snub-nosed .38 revolver out. At the distance you're at, yours might be actually more accurate with a longer barrel. But either way, it's going to make a loud noise whenever he starts hammering that back. This ain't your problem. Get out of here before I make it yours. You understand?
Who do you work for?
And with this, he turns the pistol not towards you, but shoves it in the ribs of Richard and says, "None of your business." And he turns and starts walking, like his hand firmly planted into Richard's shoulder as he moves him down. Richard gives a small gasp of pain.
When he breaks eyesight, I'm going to pull my weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to, again, attempt to come up quietly.
Okay. All right. Now you are going to have to stick out like a sore thumb because he knows what you look like. He's still trying to keep his eyes down on the floor to see what happens.
Rather than the move, take a risk, I believe this would be face danger.
You're right. Face danger because he's already threatened you once. And so if you fail this one, it's a good chance you might catch a slug.
Time's running out for Richard. I'm going to do it.
All right, go for it.
Oh, a 5 again.
You come up behind him and he quickly wheels around. And as he does, he doesn't fire the gun, but he swings it at you, catching you in the side of the head. It's not enough to take you down, but you are going to suffer from pistol whip 2. So you're going to take 2 to your thing. So you remember on your sheet where to track it at, right?
Making a status card.
Yeah, on the status card there.
Okay, got it.
Awesome. All right, so you're dazed. Your eyes are kind of crossed for a second there, and your head's kind of ringing, but you back out, making sure that you don't press your luck anymore. He looks at you and says, "As soon as I take care of the business here, I'm going to find you, and I'm going to make sure you don't get yourself in any more trouble. Once and for all." And this time he points the pistol at you, seeing your gun. He says, "Hand it over."
Shooting him.
just no hesitation, just shooting him. All right. Well, I think things are about to go sideways, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you pull your pistol and you fire. You going toe to toe?
I want to hit him with all you got.
Hit him with all you got. Excellent. I like it. Now, this is the first time you fired your gun in a while.
At least a few months.
Mm-hmm. I see which tags you have. As you pull the gun up and fire, go ahead and roll for me. Giving it all you got.
Oh, thank goodness! I finally got a gun.
Wow. All right. He has this gun up at you and he says, "Give me your gun." What do you do? How does it play out? Show me what it looks like.
I slowly start raising the gun, and then I whip it around and fire.
There's a single retort that fills the big empty space of the bank. Dr. White, in the vent, you find yourself looking out the vent on the top floor, or on the second floor. You see that Jack seems to be facing off against someone. You see the muzzle flash for just a second, and the puff of smoke that follows with it. The guy holding the gun out against Jack seems to slump forward for a second, putting his hand. The entirety of the bank floor is now looking up at the balcony, including Abel. Richard stands there, and the gun from the man that you shot falls to the ground. Richard quickly reaches down and grabs it and turns and points it at the man who is clearly slumping against the balcony. He looks down at you and looks up. And as you did this, something strange happens. It's been a while since you fired this piece. You've kept it clean. What happens, though? You tell me.
As the muzzle flashes for the bullet to come out, the look of the gun changes for all of us who can see through the mist. What you see instead is a long medieval Roman spear that seems to drip with blackness, blood, and death. A version of it, an echo, flashes forward as the bullet shot rings out and goes through the man, seeming to pull a copy of him out the back, like it's pulling his very soul out of his body.
He slumps down against there, his eyes glassy. No more breath does he draw. Richard holds the gun shakily, aiming at the thug. Dr. White, you're not sure what you just saw, but Jack may be more than just a simple private eye. But you have more time to question that later, because currently the sound of an alarm is ringing. And you can see that the thugs all around the lobby of the place are looking back and forth, trying to figure out what happened. One of them grabs Abel, the thin man with the ill-fitting suit. He brings out a shotgun, a single-barrel thing with a grip on the front of it that he can easily slide it. And he points it and pushes it into Abel. And he says, "What did you do? Get to moving!" And with that, Abel holds up his hands. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. There's a sound of a crack as a wood stock hits Abel in the head. The older gentleman kind of slumps for a second and hits his knees. Richard cries out, "Abel, no!" What are you guys doing? You're on the second floor. You're in the vents. Professor Owens, Yvonne, all hell is breaking loose. Guns are being flashed.
Well, since I'm closest to him, in fact, when this all went down, I was handing him a message on a piece of paper.
Take this and bang! Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would have, first when the gunfire sounded, I would have really leaned into the act that I have put on of the "I never do anything without my husband" woman here, and grabbed his arm, shrieked a little bit, really tried to lean into Abel for protection while really also trying to keep a handle on him and what's going on. But it sounds like when the gunfire mayhem has died down a little bit that he's probably been pulled away from me.
Probably along the lines of you've been shoved off of him.
Sure.
Or pushed away from him. I won't say shoved down, but pushed away from him. So
I think I'm going to just try to maintain a connection with him and say, "Sir, what's going on? Do you need some help?" And I'm going to look at the thug that has just smacked him. What are you doing to him? He was just here to make a withdrawal.
Listen, Dame, this ain't your trouble. We gotta go. We gotta go, Abel. Come on. And he starts to try to drag him away.
And I would like to say to him, no, you're not going anywhere. And I would like to compel him to stay right there with Abel.
All right.
And I think from You're Gonna Love Me, my subversion mythos, I would like to use Irresistible Magnetism. Gosh, I think they all apply here. Nothing but me. And Manipulate Your Desires.
That's such a great feeling.
I think I can probably even pull from Imaginary Circumstances and use Manipulate Actions. Can I
So
sell
you're
you
just
on all
gonna
four of those?
you're just gonna euphoria this guy to death.
Exactly.
He's just gonna go out with a smile on his face. No, actually, you know what? I think that this is the perfect circumstance for all of those to apply. I agree. So you're gonna go toe to toe because you're basically trying to face off with this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
That's
good.
a 10.
Wow. You watch as just after striking him and you were like using your ploy, his face goes slack as he just kind of looks at you and goes, How did I not see it before? You're beautiful.
What
his face
do
just
you
kinda
want from him?
He was supposed to tell them to give us all the money and then we were supposed to leave. No one was supposed to pull the guns. They were only a precaution.
Why do you need the money?
Mr. Castellani gave us the instructions to get it.
What does he need it for? He's got plenty of money.
I don't know, ma'am. I'm just told to do this job.
Well, you're going to round up all of your men, and Mr. Benning is going to come with me. Do you understand?
Okay. Round up all my guys. And Mr. Benning is gonna go with you.
That's right.
Okay. Hey guys. We're gonna let Mr. Benning go. We gotta go. And again, the whole time there's an alarm bell going. Just Dr. White, what are you doing in all this, Mishigosh?
I think that as I hear the gunshot and the alarm, thinking back to the flashbacks, like I assume we came in here with a plan, and seeing how the scene is playing out, that the idea maybe was that Jack was going to find Robert and that I was going to try to do surveillance throughout the building so I could be where I needed to be when I needed, and that Yvonne and Professor Owens were going to stick to Abel and try to either get him out or something. And so I think when things start going bad, so how do the flashback moves work? Like, is it we can do a flashback and
Yes,
make a decision that affects now?
Yeah, you have the spotlight right now. So if you want to say, hey, I want to do a flashback, you can add a story tag that you can then apply and change the actual story as it's happening right now.
Okay, yeah, I want to try that.
Hmm.
So is that actually the roll, the flashback move?
Tell me what flashback you're having and what you're going to.
Okay, so
lay it out for me.
What I want to do is have a flashback talking with Professor Owens and Yvonne about once they get Abel safe, since they have, put a bug on the Cadillac outside, that one of the options, depending on how things broke, were the two of them posing as Abel and his captor and getting back in that car and tracking it back to whatever the location was.
So giving yourselves up as decoys to do that, or taking that role.
Yes, letting like Yvonne and Professor Owens pose as Abel and his captor to now go back and see what's actually going on.
Okay. So with that being in the plan, you can say we altered what actually happened with Yvonne, saying if you would like to, and you're going along with the plan, that you still have this guy captivated, and you say that Abel's going with you, but really what you can do is squirrel Abel away, and you and Professor Owens, I keep wanting to call you Dr. Owens because of the whole change, but you and Professor Owens can then change your appearance to get into the vehicle. Okay. One question. What are you doing with the guy in the ill-fitting suit and the dead guy and Richard upstairs?
Well, I think that is where, that being the plan, this is where I come in, and I think I'm in the vents I just start generating smoke to fill the building, to set off the alarms, to cause as much of a visual and auditory problem for everyone else that's not Yvonne as possible.
Sure, okay. All right, Professor Owens, you know the plan. Now, my question stands. You got you're obscuring the area enough that you can't really see what's going on. However, you two are very clear as to what you're going to do if this came to fruition. Who's taking the role of Abel, and who is taking the guy in the ill-fitting suit?
Well, I'm probably taking Abel.
Okay.
And I figured that my insectoid companion could be taking the role of the ill-fitting suit, and then or of Richard, and then Yvonne could be the ill-fitting suit dude.
Okay. All right. So your aunt, A-N-T, not A-U-N-T. Your aunt, your friend there, Yvonne, and yourself quickly change. We're gonna manipulate your powers one more time, but it's starting to get exhausting because you've been holding up the image change. Now you've got him there. So with you tapping into this one more time to obscure yourself, first of all, Dr. White, change the game. Actually, yeah, go ahead and change the game.
All right, and so I think for this, I will use my smoke form and also smoke screen. Okay. And I think I'm also going to use haunting visage to kind of freak out the people that are not, again, my friends, to create that vision of the plague doctor for some of the people, to cause even not just, oh, what I can't see, but, oh, there's something in here.
Is it like the misty form of the plague doctor, or is it just like the mask zooming through the smoke at them?
I think it is the misty form, like almost like it's appearing different places in their vision.
All right. As you take on the form of this smoke, go ahead and roll for me, please.
Ooh, 7.
All right. As you do so, you fill it full of smoke, and everybody starts to shout fire. In the smoke, or in your form as you're moving throughout the smoke, you see them drawing their guns, looking around for you. There are 3 of them. One's dead. There's 3 on the ground. You can see the 3 of them pulling their guns, looking around, and one of them starts to fire into the distance as one of your forms does. And unfortunately, it just connects with your form. As it does so, the bullet does tear through a little bit. You're going to take a gunshot. It's going to be 3 because he's pretty good with that revolver. It doesn't, for a split second, your form kind of hazes out for a second, but then you kind of redouble your effort and come back around after taking that. And quickly, the rest of you, though, move out of the area. Jack, you have Richard. What are you doing?
Well, the plan is to get him back outside safely. Was I able to spot another door besides the front one that leads outside of the building earlier?
Not off of the balcony. You'll have to find. You'll have to go down hallways and see if there's a rear access ladder or rear access. Like either a fire escape or rear stairwell.
All right. Grabbing him by the arm, trying to say something reassuring, like, don't point that gun at me, kid. And leading him towards whatever wall I think is most likely to have a fire escape on it.
Okay. You can see long hallways that are divided here and there. As you run down to the end of the nearest hallway, there is like a large window there, and you can see on the outside of it the girding of a fire escape.
Perfect. Heading that way and trying to open the window.
All right. Window opens with ease, and you have Richard out on the fire escape. He's still kind of stunned from the whole incident that went on, but he does not resist, and he easily starts to slide or go down the ladder. He's muttering to himself as he goes, "What about Abel? Where's Abel? Is Abel okay? Please tell me Abel's okay. I heard another gunshot. Is Abel okay?"
Yeah, he's fine. It's part of the plan. We'll meet up with him later.
All right. And with that being said, we're going to come back to our most important people right now. Yvonne, Professor Owens, and the crazy ant.
Okay, so in light of the flashback move and this new information, I think what I had actually said to the thin man was, you take Abel and go meet up with my colleague and Richard, and they'll show you where to go. And so that is what I've compelled him to do. He is now going to escort Abel safely to meet up with Jack, and he'll get them out of the building.
Oh. Yeah, meet up with your companion and Richard outside of the building. Oh, okay. I can
right.
do that.
Wonderful.
Mr. Benning. And he's almost like, right this way, please. They start to head towards the front door. As they do, are you gonna say anything different?
Nope,
or are you gonna let him? Okay. Out the front door they go, and as the doors, like I said, there's like an inner door that stays closed, but the outer door is open. He pushes through, and some of the smoke starts to tendril out, but it doesn't dissipate like regular smoke. It kind of hangs in the door frame a little bit. But they come out, and you hear an engine rev over the sound of the alarm, almost imperceptibly.
I'm going to grab Professor Owen's hand and say, we got to go now. And his illusion has already taken effect, or with his, whatever he changed the, did he make a change to his insect, or is this all me?
This is, go ahead.
Oh, I can't really change the form of my insects.
Okay.
I only can.
Then this is all me. So I'm going to grab him and go, we got to go. And as the three of us are running out, I'm going to change us while we're still obscured by the smoke into the three people that he had mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys don't forget that for the successful rolls, you have juice, and that juice can be used to augment a power. If you feel like you might be running at the edge, you can always burn that power tag for the rest of the session. But it guarantees you a 10, so you guaranteed a success if there's something you want to do like that.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea, because I think as we're running, I also want to, since the smoke is also pouring out of the building, I want whoever is outside and has revved this car, I want them to see the Abel and Other Man and Richard that are the three of us come out of the building and connect that to the real Abel that they saw come out of the building, so that those two can actually get around and meet up with Jack.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this
You're
is
gonna try to obscure them and reveal only yourself.
Yeah, all at the same time.
That's gonna be a tough one.
Yes, it is. I think this is probably more of an immersive illusion, just because there are so many things going on at once.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of moving parts, so that would be an immersive illusion.
So from imaginary circumstances, and then I think nothing but me and irresistible magnetism might come into play here as well, because I'm trying to draw the attention to us and not the real man that I'm disguising myself as.
Okay.
All of that
So-
being said, I think this is important enough that I do want to use a juice here.
All right. So you can use the juice for that particular situation. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, your juice is equal to the success that you had on that last roll. Let's
Juice
see.
is equal to
Last,
power.
well, it's on the change the game, and I have you changed the game earlier. Let
My
me
power was
find it.
2 on that one. Oh no, so
Two on
that's
that?
not mine.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that was Dr. White's. Here's mine. Oh yeah, mine was power 2 on that.
Okay, so you have 2. All right. Yeah, you can actually increase. You can reduce or increase a status on there. You can scale up the effect of what you're doing or prolong it. You can also use that juice to burn a power tag or a story tag. So in order for you to do that, you would have to burn one of your power tags in this particular case, but it guarantees you a 10 for burning it.
Okay.
So you would just tell me which tag it is that you want to burn.
And burning it is not forever, but basically until like a rest or something like that.
Right, until the end of the session, whenever you guys do the end credit go crazy. And at the beginning of the next session, granted we actually wind up, then yeah, it would be gone basically for the end of this session.
Great. I think I'm going to burn nothing but me on this one. I think that is the crux of what I'm trying to do here, is draw all of their attention to me and the 2 people that are with me, and not anybody else that is making their escape at this moment.
Might I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Since this is a very complex illusion that you're creating, I would actually say you would probably want to burn your create immersive illusion, because you are trying to obscure 3 people or 2 people and create yourself to look like 3 people. So
great. I was going back and forth between the 2. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So I don't have to roll then, because we've got an automatic 10. And
Correct. You have
this.
an automatic success, and you burn that, and it will not be usable until next session.
Great.
All right. So with that being said, as they run out of the bank, you guys following right in as you do, it's kind of this weird thing. As you burst through the smoke, you go into the door frame looking like yourselves and an ant. And when you come out the other side, it is Abel and Richard and the thin man in the ill-fitting suit. You hustle your way across the street to the Cadillac that's waiting. The man in the seat reaches back and opens the door up for you quickly. And again, it has that suicide doors. As you slide into the seat and close the door, he goes, "Where's everybody else?"
They're on their way, boss. There was a problem. Everybody else is on their way out, but we got Abel. Let's go. We got
What's
Richard
with the
too.
smoke?
That's part of the problem. We were just getting ready to do the withdrawal, and there was some sort of fire or something. I don't know if it was in the vents, but it spread everywhere right away, and we wanted to get out of there before there was any attention drawn to us.
Well, I can't wait around for them. Cops will be here in any minute. That alarm has been going for a good minute or 2.
Exactly.
And with that, you feel yourself pushed into the seat as he slams on the gas. The back end of the big caddy sliding a bit around as it goes. It takes the end of the street, and without barely slowing down, he feel the whole front of the Cadillac spin around, the back end fishtailing out behind him as it speeds away. Your dragonfly somewhere above you, making its way. The sound of the alarm is cut by the sound of the warble of police vehicles. Big Fords with round fenders, black on both end and white in the middle, with the shield on there and the police symbol. Dr. White, you watch as the first of the 2 police officers, out of you don't know how many, make their way in, their guns drawn, looking around the... What are you doing?
I think that having gotten them out and assuming that Jack is getting out with Robert, that I try to make my way out a vent that leads outside. So I actually kind of like envision there's this cloud of smoke that comes out of a vent like at the top of the first or second floor and just solidifying and slamming down on top of a closed dumpster and getting up and son of a bitch, and holding the wound and sitting down on the ground and starting to pull out a little set of pocket tools and starting to fish the bullet out as he waits for Jack to come out with Robert.
Sure, you follow the vent system to some sort of escape. As you do, you wind up and down, and eventually there's a small vent that points down. As you come out there, you can see Jack with Richard coming down the fire escape. And about that time, you kind of let your form go. Jack, near you, probably about 10, 15 feet, you hear the sound of poof as the dog reforms into his physical form, landing on top of a closed dumpster and just kind of laying there for a second, muttering.
Well,
Scared the daylights out of me.
Sorry, I have to admit that Plan E was not my first option, but at least one of them worked.
Yeah, one piece. Where are we meeting up?
Well, I suppose we could head back to the professor's house, unless you want to try and follow that car.
Abel should be coming out. Did you see which way they went?
Oh, yes, out the front. I assumed they'll headed back around here.
All right. Let's get where we can meet up quick. Should have sirens on us soon.
Oh, yes, I suppose there's not time for this right now, and he kind of rotates the shoulder that's got the bullet in it and tucks the tools away, realizing he's not going to be able to dig it out right this second.
And sure as shoe shine, you hear from up front, and the sound of screeching tires. Coming down the alleyway that is, you're like on almost the back of the building, and coming out of the alleyway, you see Abel, not so much being led by the thin man in the ill-fitting suit, as more like being escorted at this point in time. The weapon he has is still out, but he's not gripping it in an aggressive manner. He just seems to kind of have it out. Abel rushes over to Richard immediately and kind of looks him up and down and asks if he's okay. He looks shaken, and Abel takes the gun from his hand, like, carefully, and hands it over to one of you.
Holding out my hand.
He puts it firmly in your hand, and looks Richard up and down, and then embraces him, putting his hand on the back of his head as he just clutches to him.
Dropping the snub nose in an outside pocket on my trench coat.
Now, you remember what the plan was, is they were going to dive into the vehicle, try to track back where they got to if Abel was taken.
All right, we can't stand around. And we have partners that are going to be in danger very quickly. Anybody know where Professor Owen's keys are? Screw it. Maybe I can hotwire it. Let's go.
Do you want a flashback?
Yeah. So, what would I roll for that?
Just tell me what you want to do in the scene.
Okay, flashback would probably be giving either Jack or
just leave him in the visor.
Oh yeah, actually, just have my driver, before I shrink him, leave the keys in the visor and the one of the doors unlocked.
All right. So the way that works is you described something that you guys carried out in the past. And what we're going to do is I'm going to obscure it because it's not really a move so much as it's a conversation that you guys had for your plan. So instead of describing an event from your character's backstory that became relevant now, instead we're going to include that as part of the backstory because it happened before we actually came on camera. So I'm going to award you 1 juice for quick thinking.
He asks where the keys are, and a giant bloatfly just drops him on his head as we're standing here in the alley.
There you go.
Actually, in that same flashback, could I also amend one other thing?
You may.
I've told the dragonfly. I also told the dragonfly that once the car stops, and parks and people get out, to meet these two at a location to direct them to where everyone else is.
Mm-hmm. Well, the car speeds down the road as you guys are inside of the back of it. It doesn't go for very far before you find out it comes into a parking garage. You hear the sound at the bottom of it bang against the concrete as it goes up a ramp, still speeding along pretty well, slowing down enough to catch the circular turn as it goes up to the top floor. When you arrive at the top, you're back out outside on the top deck. He quickly puts it in park in a parking spot, jumps out of the seat and looks back at you guys and motions, "Come on."
All right, I get out of the car and I look up, and do I see my fly? Okay, I sort of make a motion, a very subtle motion, for him to go find the others and bring them back here.
All right. Easy enough. As you do, you kind of watch as the dragonfly buzzes off. You guys are in the beautiful vehicle as you are cranking it up with Dr. White, Abel, and Richard in the back. You take off as you hear a buzzing sound, a large droning noise of wings. A dragonfly kind of lights in front of you, making the front of the car kind of down on the in the suspension. It kind of lifts off and buzzes and starts to do that dart thing that it does, like a vehicle with vector thrust, just kind of left and right, up and down, giving you the indication that it wants something from you. It turns and starts to fly away. Jack,
Okay.
Are you the one driving?
Absolutely, and I'm following the dragonfly.
All right. You step on the gas and it starts to fly in front of you faster. Takes you around a block and comes back out to one of the side streets from where the bank is. Quickly following along, it flies just above the traffic. You're amazed that no one notices this thing as you kind of weave in and out of the cars, and it quickly, after several blocks, takes a left into the front, underneath a parking garage. You pull the vehicle in and it starts to buzz as you continue up and around and around. In the meantime, you three are taken to a large wagon, a wood-paneled wagon. The back doors of it are closed, so it's like one of the old milk delivery trucks. It's got one of the old school delivery trucks. The side panel door is slid open, and sitting inside of there, dressed in a very well-tailored suit, his bald head looking out at you, his broad shoulders, he smiles. And he says, "So, anybody want to tell me what went wrong?"
Mr. Castelloni, I know, we don't know what happened at the bank. The alarms went off, there was some sort of fire or something, and we just hightailed it out of there. We didn't want to get caught by any cops or anything. We're gonna have to do this some other time. But Mr. Castelloni, let me just make a suggestion here. Mr. Benning is a very high profile person. If he's gone, people are gonna notice. Do we need to have him? He's followed all of our instructions so far. Can we just try this again later?
I like that plan. I say in my Abel Benning's voice, I suppose. What did he sound like?
And I just squeeze his arm while he's saying that and dig my fingernails into it.
It's hard to pin down. He sounds like he's kind of from all over.
Okay.
Frank sits there, steepling his fingered, or his gloved fingers together as he looks over. And he slowly takes the gloves off of his hands. And he takes and folds them up, or off of his right hand. And he takes and he holds it in his left hand. And he stands up, and you can see the driver of the vehicle looks nervous, sweat beading on his face. He looks at you, Yvonne, and says, "It's not a bad idea. I'm a little upset that I didn't get the money that I was looking for today. You know, I got people that look to me to do these things. And whenever I get disappointment, like coming back without the things that I asked you to get for me, well, somebody's got to atone." And about this time, you watch as he reaches out his hand and he puts it on the shoulder of the driver. And you can hear the sound of ice forming. But as you look over, it is not ice, but it's gold, like a sheen of gold that creeps across the suit. The man looks down, his face stricken in panic. His mouth starts to open, but as it does, you can watch the gold creep up. And in a matter of seconds, he stands there, a solid gold statue. Castelloni takes his hand off, tugs the glove back on. "That's a good idea that you've got there. Let's keep Abel along for a bit. Richard, you're going to come with us to make sure that we keep Abel in line. You're such a good couple. Really." In the van. And with that, he gets out of the van and moves back over to the Cadillac. And he stops for a second, holds his hand up, his gloved finger. "Somebody do something about this, Jabron." And then he gets into the Cadillac. Another man gets out of the van, the passenger side, and goes and sits in the Cadillac, and they pull away. About that time, a very nice car starts to creep up the ramp. The Cadillac pulls to another ramp that leads down out of the parking garage, as Professor Owen's own vehicle comes up the ramp and sees you all. The statue of the man, the driver of the van, and the Abel Richard, thin man in the ill-fitting suit combo. The dragonfly comes to a stop and lights down the man who's driving the van, who's currently trying to muscle the statue of a gold statue of another figure into the back of the van, lets out a little bit of a yelp as a giant dragonfly lands on the roof. The car pulls up. Your car pulls up to a stop. What are you doing? The only opponent here is the guy who is trying to muscle a statue in.
Okay, I'm going to tell Johnson, the dragonfly, to try and pick him up and, I'm going to tell Johnson, the ant, to, attack the guy dealing with the gold statue, and then, tell Johnson, the dragonfly, to, go, find, that Cadillac again and follow it.
Okay. It takes off doing so.
And I'm going to do, it would be hit with all you got, right? To attack the
Yes. You're going to hit him with all you got.
Yeah, so I think that would be specialist species and use social servant.
Are you talking about for the ant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Then that is a 10.
Excellent. You spin around in 10. How many power attacks did you have? 2?
Oh, should have been 3 with acid spraying, so 11.
Oh, God, yeah. So you turn around and as it does, there's a scream, and he hits the ground, batting at the fumaric acid that's been sprayed all over him. A bit of it splashes onto the gold statue, and there's a sizzle and a pop. It's a bit gruesome, a bit grotesque. But the man who was driving the van is no longer trouble. I feel like I should have one more rhyme on that.
And then I head back to my car, now that it's here, and see what's happening with these people. I suppose rejoin the party.
Abel and Richard look shaken as the man who was the driver is now on the ground screaming. Well, actually, he's no longer screaming. As that is the cessation of his life there. But they're more taken aback by the golden statue. And he points and says, "What's that?"
We saw Castelloni turn him into that. I don't know what it was, but it was like he touched him and he just turned into that.
It was terrifying.
None of this makes sense. Why would Castelloni need money if he can turn people to gold? You know what? No. I'm taking Richard, and I'm leaving, and I am going to go as far away as I can. I don't want to know. I'm not involved anymore. I'm leaving.
Makes sense. After what you've been through, if you would like, and I nod to Johnson there, he'll escort you out to at least outside the city. You've seen what he can do. Oh,
There's a nice quiet there's a little village place there on the outskirts of the city, and I think that it's time that I retire. I think I've seen enough movies. Richard, are you content with gardening and tending to my every whim? There's a laugh and a bat. It's kind of a nervous laughter, and he bats at Abel's shoulder. I think that it would be, I could well adjust, yes. Yep. They take the van, since nobody's using it. And
do they take the gold statue as well?
no, they nothing to do with that. They want nothing to do with any more of this at all. Richard gets in the van. You hear Abel ask, "Do you know how to drive one of these?" Yeah, something like this in the time that I spent in the service. And it fires up, and unless there's any other questions that you guys have, Richard and Abel are driving off into the sunset to no longer deal with any of these shenanigans.
Yeah, I think wish them well, and I would turn my attention to the statue to try to see if I can get any sense of if there's anything left of the person, if this is like an outer layer, or if it is a full transformation. Just trying to use the glasses to get a sense of what has happened, and if it's possible to reverse or help.
All right, go ahead and give me the power tags that you.
So I think that I can use from my routine, which is doing the rounds. Dr. White works this is the chief physician at a clinic, and so I think chief physician applies.
Mm-hmm.
And then eye for illness using the glasses.
Absolutely.
Cannot buy one. 6.
While you are a splendid doctor, this escapes your grasp of understanding. This is along the lines of everything else that you've been seeing lately. This is a physical, just an anomaly.
Yes, I've never seen anything like this before. I can't even begin to fathom how you could do this to someone, let alone how you could reverse it.
You guys are looking over this. Professor, you're well studied. You're a learned individual. More than just entomology, I believe. I'd like for you to give me an investigate roll. There's something about this statue.
All right. So the way I see it, I don't believe in any of this mythology mumbo jumbo, so I never paid attention to it. But my uncle had a fascination with mythology. So I'm going to use the house and the library as my power tag for this investigation roll. See if I remember any of this.
Sure.
What's it? Or that is an 8.
Okay. You're not sure if you got the name right. Something about Greek mythology, or maybe it was, I can't remember, about a guy who could turn things he touched to gold.
You know, this seems very familiar for some reason. I think it was my uncle. He was a lover of myths and legends, and I think he once told me something along these lines, which is odd that this man would have the same powers as what could possibly be, I don't know, a god. I didn't, unfortunately, pay attention to those. Thought he was crazy, but, well, the stories were. Well, I mean, my uncle was too, but, I don't know, I might have something back home about this. If we would like to head back.
Well, we certainly can't stay here. The dragonfly is tracking Castelloni, so we can either all go back, or we can split and maybe 2 of us follow Castelloni and 2 go back to investigate. What does everyone think?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I have no quarrels with it.
Splitting up and some of us going after the guy who can literally transmute people does sound like a kind of plan.
I mean, maybe it is best if we know what we're up against first, so maybe we should all go see what the professor can find out.
My suggestion would be we figure out a way to do that isn't splitting up.
Okay, yeah,
Dwight,
then
what do you think?
Yes, I think that staying together might be best. Until we know what this is, how we could stop it, it's very dangerous, even more so than I think we thought starting this off.
Okay. Then to the professors we go.
all right.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I resummon Johnson, my driver, and I suppose we take the gold statue and I'll head to my place. Yeah.
All right. As you load the statue up, having your brutish scarab beetle load him into the back of the vehicle, you guys pile in and take off toward the manor. And we're going to take a short break. We're going to get up, refill our drinks, go visit and stretch our legs. We will be back soon. Don't forget that we are doing a Die Hard Dice giveaway. Please make sure you enter a chance to win a $50 gift certificate, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that and see. I'm pretty sure that is. I also want to give a shout out. Thank you to OG Flaya for the sub, and for all of those of you who have followed and everything else. We appreciate it. Keep in mind, guys, that this is how we keep the lights on. We appreciate any sub, any bits that you want to throw out our way, anything of that nature. We greatly appreciate it. A huge thanks to World Anvil, our sponsor, as well as Die Hard Dice. And again, that is a $50 gift certificate if you enter in hashtag Obscurum. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, so about 5 after the hour, and we will wrap up for the night and see what else our crazy crew is going to get into. In the meantime, we are Obscurum. I am Heath, the Master of Ceremonies. We'll be back soon. Thanks, guys. And welcome back. When last we left our party, they were jumping into the vehicle and taking off to head to Professor Owen. Research and try to come up with a new plan. As the last one kind of went the way they wanted it to, at least by the time they got to plan E, that is. So, as you jump back in the vehicle with the golden statue and make your way back to Professor Owen's, we will pick up as the vehicle pulls into the gravel drive, past the gates, and into the manor proper. You dismount and head inside, asking, I'm sure, Johnson to carry the statue in with you.
Of course.
Awesome. You make your way inside. Where do you start? What are you looking for?
So, first thing I do is I tell Johnson, my stick bug librarian, to find any books relating to Greek or maybe Roman mythology, and report back to me. Yeah.
There are a few clicks and kind of a nod. Does Johnson, the stick bug Johnson, does he vocalize?
Not quite yet. I think the only bug that can vocalize at the current moment is Vespa, my butler.
Okay. Johnson gives you a bit of a bow, which is an awkward thing to watch, as he is a stick bug. But he makes his way to the library, loping, as he is a bit taller than most everyone else. Long and lanky looking. And he makes his way into the library. What about the rest of you?
I think I don't have any choice but to sit down, put some towels out, and try to get this bullet out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, noticing his shoulder, there's a bit of a blossom of red there.
I'm going to run and put some water on to boil to help with that.
Sure thing.
Just ask Johnson. John, they'll be able to take care of it. Don't worry yourself.
Look, I'm never going to get used to this, and I can't tell these guys apart. I'm just going to go get the water.
I have to admit for a second that was kind of horrifying. I thought you were telling me you had a bug that could, like, do surgery or something.
Well, I do have... Yeah, I was just about to say, there are certain ants that have been used as medical equipment before, actual surgery was invented, as like sutures and stuff, and
Wait.
bandages.
Do you... I can't believe Do you have something that could, like, crawl inside and pull the bullet out so I don't have to cut myself more?
Yvonne walks over to the cabinet and pours herself a drink.
Yeah.
Jack goes... So do you?
Probably not, but I definitely have insects that could make a bandage, like a biological bandage of like weaver ant, silk, and other things.
Okay, so yeah, I will dig it out myself. But if he's got something to help kind of patch it up after the fact, that would be strange but wonderful, as I think is really the subtitle for this whole experience.
That or so, that's a thing. Let's see. I'm gonna make you take a risk to dig that bullet out, because you could do more damage to yourself in doing so.
And how would I help him out? Or
you're going to be doing your own.
Okay.
I think this is important. Where we are in the middle of this, possibly needing to track down that dragonfly again. So I'm going to use one of my points of juice to burn my chief physician tag. So that I can get this out without doing any further damage to myself.
Perfect. So you go ahead and use your juice to burn that power tag, Chief Physician, and as you do so, you expertly remove the bullet from your shoulder, as though it's something you've done maybe a time or two before. As for making the bandage, there's really kind of a menial task. They'll do it for you, so I'm not even going to worry about you having to roll on that one,
Okay.
since it's kind of a, it's kind of a non. It's just not really a thing. You just ask them to make it, and they can make it for you. Is it a self-dissolving bag? It just have to be changed out, or how does it? How do you imagine it works? You tell me, Mr.
So
Etymologist.
yeah, so weaver ants are really the silk that they produce is actually one of the strongest silks like in the animal kingdom. So it probably stays there, like able to take it off to dress it, but
Mhm.
you know, that it's good. It's a good bandage. Not sure where I was going with that sentence, but there I went.
There we are.
Yep.
It's good bandage. So he probably have them make a few of them, just so he can change it as need be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nicer than anything that you have, and the only problem is that they're not a self-adhesive, which is still kind of a newer thing. So, but you pack it with gauze, and you have tape that you can use on there. And you bandage your shoulder up, and about the time that you guys get through all of that, there is a tap on your shoulder, Professor Owens, and you look at Johnson the stick bug, who has a stack of books, and he puts them down in front of you, and then bows, and then moves back into the library.
All right. Well, I suppose we just should start looking through these. There should be something in here about what that is, I think. I hope.
Everybody take a book and start investigating?
Sounds great.
Yeah, so I don't think I actually have any things that are specifically for like investigation.
Okay. How about using your help points? Since you guys kind of came together, we can talk about a bit about those. Whenever you form a team, you have help and hurt points, and depending on however you form that. Now, they're still kind of new, but they generally want to help each other out. And whenever you form your team initially, each one of your connections will have either a help or a hurt point that you can burn. And when we say hurt, we don't think of the traditional I'm trying to hurt you so much as I'm trying to maybe stop you from doing something that would maybe hurt you in the long run. Like, say, for instance, you've talked about capturing this particular individual that you've had vengeance or wanted to take vengeance on, but somebody else wants to stop you from doing that because you want to question them. You can burn your hurt tag to stop them from doing that, and thereby kind of hurting your relationship with them, but ultimately accomplishing a goal of keeping that person alive so that you can question them. As an example, the help tag is exactly that. You just help each other. It's a help point, I should say. And you just simply help each other. And what we can do is, for that, we'll just say that you guys spend your time investigating. Since time right now is not really a question. It's more of finding out more about the information. If you're taking your time meticulously poring over it, there's no need for you to roll anything. It's not a very hard task to do anyways. You're just looking through books. Not everything needs a roll. It's more along the lines of when the story really calls for it. So as each of you sit down poring through a book, you realize that, well, there's nothing mentioning about it in the Romans, any of the Roman mythology, and since most of it was ripped off from the Greeks anyways, you quickly get through the Roman books. The Greek mythology books, however, have different ones. There are all sorts of talks of Heracles and all of the abilities that he had, and you talk Persephone and her love for Hades, how that relationship started, and you read all the things about Oedipus. There's actually the Odyssey and the Iliad and the Odyssey in there, and you kind of look through those for a moment and then push those aside. Jack, you're actually the one that discovers it. It's a small passage, a short story, really, a parable about avarice and greed and getting what you want, being careful about asking or getting what you ask for. It's the story of a king. The name of the king is Midas. He wanted gold above all things and wished to be able to turn anything he touched into gold. His wish was granted, and as such, anything he touched turned to gold, which was fine, and he was happy and joyous until he tried to eat fruit because he was hungry, and it turned to gold. And he began to lament because the cup and the liquid contents inside turned to gold. And eventually everything, literally, turned to gold in his hands. He did not realize the folly truly until in his lamentation, receiving counsel from his daughter, he wished comforting, and as he went to go hug her, replacing her warm body was a statue of pure gold. Now, the interesting thing was that Midas couldn't control it. Or at least the story says he couldn't control it. But that's the closest story you have in the entirety of the books. It comes close to what you saw. And from what you read, it's not real clear, but you get the inclination that it is not reversible.
When he was doing this to the driver, did you notice anything in particular? Did he do anything or say anything as it was happening or before it happened?
No, he just took off his glove and placed it on the poor man.
Yes, that's all I saw as well. I don't recall him saying anything.
He took the glove off, though. Did he touch the driver? Was it skin-to-skin contact?
It was on his shoulder, right?
Yeah,
like it would be
yeah.
on the suit. No,
His
it
bare
was.
hand touched the suit.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so there was no skin to skin.
I was hoping that maybe some layer of protection could help. Maybe the gloves are just a trigger for him.
What color were the gloves?
I don't know. What color were the gloves, Heath?
They were
They were white, as I recall.
They were big lead oven mitts.
big rubber gloves that he has to have. They squeak when he goes there. They were white.
But nothing special about the gloves. They didn't appear to be gold themselves or made of anything unusual.
No, just regular silk gloves, I suppose. I don't know. They were white.
Yes, I don't think I would have even noticed that he had them unless he had need to take one off, which he did. They were very nondescript.
Yes.
Well, it's not much of a theory to go on, but perhaps he has to physically, with his skin, touch whatever it is he's transforming. If he removed the glove, unless it, again, was just a show, it's not a lot to go on, but if it's a matter of making sure that he doesn't touch any of us with his bare skin, that's something.
Dr. White, how much do you know about your glasses and how they work?
In what sense?
Well, in the sense that perhaps the gloves are something of a similar type of artifact for him. The glasses seem to give you some of your powers, if not all of them. Maybe the gloves are doing something similar for him, allowing him to channel it or control it or tap into it.
Oh, that's interesting. Almost the opposite of I put the glasses on to tap into, maybe his gloves are concealing it or, I don't know, charging it while he's wearing them.
Exactly. I mean, it's just conjecture. We don't know anything for sure.
Like a focus.
Yes. And I think that with the idea of focus, I get the image again of Jack staring down the barrel of his gun and focusing on that man and firing, and that sword appearing and, shooting like a copy of itself into him. And I turn to him. Jack, do you know what happened to you right before the gunshot?
I made a decision.
Yes, but did you see anything strange about that exchange?
Yeah, I did, and it's been bothering me. I'm an okay shot. I wasn't expecting that guy to die. I wasn't expecting the room to dim. I wasn't expecting a thunderclap. I wasn't expecting whatever that thing is that drifted out of him.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what happened?
Something very unusual. All of you got these weird powers. When you want, when you focus, when you desire, something happens. I made a decision I don't make very often, that it was him or me. When I decided to kill him, something changed. Something flashed out of the gun and seemed to go right through him, pulling part of him away. Did none of you see that? You didn't see the room dim? You didn't hear the clap of thunder?
I thought it was the gunfire, honestly, from where we were down on the main level.
As
mean,
did I.
It was a big echoey room, but to me it was far too loud.
I don't know, a
Yes.
lot happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I saw the appearance of the sword and the shadow of that man fall out of his body, being pulled by the sword that had come from you.
Like
I
his
don't know that I
soul?
believe in a soul, but I can't shake the feeling that I just saw one.
Yeah, same, Doc.
So, not to cut this short, but I have a class in half an hour. Here, let me call someone. I'll be right back. And I go find my phone and call my, the chair of my department, Dr. Heinrich Goldman.
Mm-hmm.
See if he can't cover for, me for, today, since we're sort of in the middle of something.
The phone rings a few times, and finally you hear a female voice on the end, his secretary. Dr. Goldman's office.
Hi, Louise. I was wondering if I couldn't speak to Heinrich. It's, very important. Oh, it's, Robert Owen.
Professor, did you not remember you had a meeting today?
No.
They're looking for you. Where
Oh.
are you?
I'm sick.
You hear you you hear a voice from the back of Dr. Goldman. Is that Robert? Quick, give me the phone. And you hear him come on the phone. My boy, where are you?
I'm not, feeling too well.
You couldn't have called and told me this earlier? What's wrong with you? You had a meeting today. It was important.
Yes, well, I sort of accidentally, slept in.
You accidentally slept in. I put my neck out for you, and this is how you repay me. You say you slept in. Listen, I've got you covered. It's gonna be fine. I let him know you were beside yourself. But look, the next time the chairs say, hey, we would like to have a talk with you, bring a bucket, muscle it up, okay?
Of course, sir. It won't happen again.
Of
I
course.
assure you.
Of course it won't. I've got you covered today. Get to feeling better. I'll make sure they know you weren't feeling up to the meeting. Maybe we can reschedule. All right. I'd like to say this is going to be okay, but I guarantee you, your first year, it's not going to reflect well.
Thank you, sir. And again, I'm so sorry.
Certainly. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
The phone is brusquely disconnected.
Fair. Very fair. Yeah. I rejoined the group. Everything's taken care of. Sorry about that. Nothing to worry about.
I couldn't help but would a note help?
A note would be fantastic.
A doctor's note.
Yeah, and I will pick a pad out and start writing him a note.
Do you carry them like on the inside of your coat? You're just taking
Oh,
your
yeah.
pad out, right?
Yep.
All right. So, I would like for everybody to, on a card where you can track your statuses and things like that, there is one that looks like, I've got to remember which one it is. There's one of the cards that looks like oh, it's the magnifying glass, because that makes a lot of sense. You've gained a clue in all of your investigating. The clue is King Midas, or Midas's touch. It seems that Frank Castellani has Midas's touch, or something along those lines. But it still doesn't explain why he needs all that money. If you can turn things to gold, it seems like you could profit from it. So while you do have a clue, you have a few more questions. What's with all the money?
Jack is definitely bringing this stuff up. If you can touch something and turn it to gold, why do you rob a bank? Why do you coerce people into robbing a bank for you? And why does your glove not turn to gold?
What if this may be completely out of the ballpark, but we have, quite frankly, no idea what we're dealing with? What if it's not actually gold? What if it's fool's gold? That's why he might be looking for the money, because he can't actually sell. Here, I might be able to figure out if this is gold or not. And I scrape
He just
some of.
bites it.
Chocolate inside.
It's
Chocolate
it
covered
just
coin.
melts. It just melts.
Cadbury.
But I like sort of like chip some off. Preferably of like the suit or something, just in case later on we can
Gonna gouge
turn
in
this.
his cheek permanently.
Yeah, just rip off a finger. No, but just like get a hunk of it and get one of my drivers and write a note to take it to my my company, Oliver's Chemicals Corp Incorporated, and see if they can't figure out what metal this is.
Okay. Are you using? Let's see. What are we invoking here?
I would be invoking the company's lab on Uncle Oliver's holdings.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna entrust that to your beetle or to your driver?
It probably wouldn't be Johnson, my main driver. And I probably have like a secondary car for errands to be run without like the big car. So I just sent Johnson, who's a housefly, out with the note and the thing of gold to my company to try and figure out what's if this is gold or not.
All right. So you send the vehicle out to figure out if it's gold or not. And while that's out, what are the rest of you doing?
I think I keep going down this line of questioning with Jack and Yvonne, the idea of like, you know, what are some possible things that we might be able to look into? Does he even have holdings in that bank? Maybe he's robbing not to get himself money, but to strip others of money even. I wouldn't have any idea how to track someone's finances, but perhaps one of you might.
I don't know that I can track anyone's finances. I might be able to get some information from my father. I don't really know. I'm not close with my father anymore, but I know that he has had dealings with Frank, at least casually. I like to believe the best about my father, and so I hope that it hasn't been anything untoward, but I might be able to find out something from him that may even set us in a direction if I give him a call.
Okay.
I can investigate finances.
Really? Tell us how.
Well, it's not uncommon that somebody comes to me wanting to know what happened to the husband's share of their wealth.
True. You are a crack investigator after all. So, Yvonne could turn to Dad and see what he knows. Jack, you have people that know things. So, do you want to set out on foot and do that on your own, or would you rather get a word to them and then get back to you? I'm asking both of you.
I think for Yvonne, it would be simply a phone call. And there would have to be a little bit of, well, let me ask you this, MC. Do you think that I can extend my powers over the telephone, or do I need to be in person?
While she has a presence about her and the voice is smooth, I still think it has to be an all eyes on me, that kind of thing.
Okay, in that case, then I would need to go stop by his office because I do think that because we're not close, this is not going to be simply relying on the family connection, while that will be part of it, but it will also be relying on a little bit of persuasion.
Sure. Charming someone.
Yes.
I got it. All right. Jack, what about you?
I'm going to be leaning on my power tags for Private Dick, asking questions. I'm going to have to use my normal method of going out and talking to people, getting pieces, talking to the next person, getting pieces.
All right. Well then, Vaughn, you call for a vehicle, and you arrive at your father's place of business. Originally, the fella at the front desk working security asks for your information, and then he gets does a double take. Ms. Calloway. Oh my gosh, I love your films. And he kind of stands up in his seat a little bit. Oh man, my wife, she loves the last movie you did was, oh man, that dress in the scene, I had to go buy her one. She's like, I need that dress. I said, not on a security officer's income, but anyway, can I get your autograph? Are you here to see Mr. Calloway? Sorry, I'm just full of questions. I apologize.
It's quite all right. Yes, I'd be happy to sign something for you. And yes, I am here to see my father.
My wife's never gonna believe this. And he takes and reaches for just he looks at it and it's like a paper menu or something, and he just flips it over and he says, to Brenda, if you could, please. That would mean so much to me. And he slides it over and he's like, just kind of keeps his fingers together.
Of course. And I sign it to
Mhm.
Brenda. Thanks for all your support. Love, Yvonne.
Oh, he takes and folds it up and slips it into the inside jacket. Let me ring up to his office. Hang on just one moment. I'm sure he'll love to see you. And he picks up the phone and you hear him. Yeah, Ms. Calloway's here to see your father. Yeah, okay, we'll wait. Sorry, they're some meeting or something. Hang on. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. I'll send her right up. Yes, sir. Thank you. No, sir, I won't bother her. Okay, thank you. And he hangs up the phone. Good thing I asked before. He says he's ready to see you. Would you like me to escort you, or?
I know the way. Thank you, though.
No, thank you. Oh, man, what a day. Have a nice day.
And I blow him a little kiss.
Oh.
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 And I make my way to the lift and head on up to Dad's office.
All right. No impediments there. You make your way to his office. As a matter of fact, he is waiting for you just outside of his office with his hands behind his back, wearing one of his power suits. It's like a brown color with a dark purple tie. It fits well, and underneath there you can see a white shirt with small bits of like purple, like plum, almost plum color to match the tie. This plum color dots mixed with like brown leafing on it. And again, he just looks as well as you'd always expect him to. Hair immaculate, clean shaven, just standing there. Yvonne?
Father? Do you have a few minutes? I know you weren't planning on seeing me today, but I wanted to talk to you about something.
Certainly. I can steal away a few moments. Right this way. And he opens the door to his office, allowing you to enter first.
All right. And as we are going into the room, I would like to invoke whatever I'm going to invoke here on kind of this entire conversation, which I'm assuming is probably going to be an investigate roll. Yeah?
Actually, you're trying to get information from him as more than invest. Actually, there is a perfect role for this, which is to convince.
Great.
You can convince him to give you the information. Tell me which tag you're.
Okay, so I think insatiable need for truth.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. From imaginary circumstances, I think manipulate actions.
Okay.
And from ready for my close-up, put on any face.
Okay.
I will say, though, let's see, that, well, no, because I didn't use any from You're Gonna Love Me. I was going to say that we potentially needed to invoke the weakness tag on that one, but does that come into play if we didn't invoke any of the power tags on that same?
I would still say it's a weakness because it
Okay.
affects the overall effect of what you're doing.
Okay, so then I think that the that non-potential suitors may see through it tag needs to come in, because even though we had talked about that as being, my powers work better on those that would be attracted to women, and that would obviously apply to Dad. I certainly hope he's not attracted to me.
We will definitely go the route of Dad is not.
Yes.
We're good.
All right. So I will trigger that weakness tag as well.
All right.
All right. So I'm rolling convince then.
Would you say that your tag of a need to prove myself?
Ooh, yeah, that probably does come into effect too.
Given how Pops feels.
Yep. All right. So that's 3 power tags and 2 weaknesses, bringing me back to a power of 1.
Mm-hmm. You got this. Okay.
All right, a 7.
All right. What questions would you like to ask of it?
So, Dad, this is going to sound very strange, so just go with me on it. I know I've seen you in business dealings, at least interacting with Frank Castelloni sometimes. How well do you know him? Do you know anything about his situation, his finances, his status? Just how much do you know about him?
After all these years, you come to me asking these sort of questions. You want to know about my business now?
I know I haven't always been interested in the family business the way James was, Dad, but
Don't. Not his name, not here.
I'm sorry.
I know Mr. Castelloni as well as I need to know that he is good for business but needs to be kept on a leash. And I do that just well.
Do you know why he might be trying to come into a very large sum of money?
I'm not aware of anything that he is trying to come into a large sum of money. Hopefully it's to pay back any debts that he may owe.
Who might he owe debts to?
I can't say. My books are cleared, so as long as that man stays far enough away from me, I'll keep any of his dealings under the table or over away from me as well. I don't like Castelloni, but sometimes there are necessary steps to be taken.
Maybe it's just the line of business I'm in and the tendency to see everything as a movie, but I've always had this image of him as this, I don't know, this rich and powerful sort of crime boss. and I know, obviously, he'd always be looking for money, but if he were trying to come into a very large sum in a very unusual way, what would cause a man like that to do something like that?
He stands and moves over to a cabinet with glass doors, roses etched into them. It's a cabinet you know well. He keeps inside there crystal decanters with liquor in there. He opens up one and takes out 2 glasses, not looking at you, but over his shoulder, kind of turning his head slightly. Do you care for ice?
Yes, please.
Certainly. Removes the cover from there and drops in a couple of cubes and pours what you know to be one of his better stocks of brandy. And he pours some for you and some for himself. Walks over, swishing the glass, no ice in his, and sets it down in front of you. Here's what I will tell you about Castelloni, and I pray that this is for research for one of your little shows. Castelloni is, like you, a very good actor. He has some sway. His money is not his own. It is not a liquid asset. It is more of a tied up into other investments. And a lot of what he can get his hands on quickly comes bundled not in a bank wrap, but in a rubber band or some twine in a paper bag from unscrupulous individuals that you don't want to get the cross of. Do I make myself understood?
You do.
You and I have not always seen eye to eye. With that being said, you are my daughter. And I would loathe to see anything come to happen to you. I would be beyond upset. So, this is my warning. If you're getting involved with Castelloni, don't. Stay away from him. I've lost one child. I do not want to lose another. Are we clear?
Yes. And I down my drink.
He sips his for a moment and puts it back down and looks at you. Have you seen your mother lately?
No. I need to give her a call.
Yes, well, the cost of my information and advice to you will be dinner, Sunday. 6 o'clock? Wear
6 it is.
something nice.
Will do, Dad.
Well, if you've nothing further, I've business to attend to. Take care of yourself. And Sunday? Do you need me to send a driver around?
No, mine will bring me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. And
You
he
too.
stands and moves around to the door, opening it for you and just kind of putting his hand out, allowing you to exit.
And as I walk by him, I pause for just a moment, move just the tiniest bit as if I'm going to try to give him a hug, and then think better of it and just nod and walk out.
He kind of looks down at the floor for a second, then looks back up, nods at you. As you exit, you hear the door shut. The hallway is lonely. And it seems to take you forever to walk to the elevator. As you push the button, even the ding of the elevator sounds sorrowful, mournful. And as you step on, head back to the first floor, heading back to Professor Owens. Jack. You, sir, are going to keep your ear to the ground, rolling the appropriate things, using your contacts and the people you know. I would love for you to get an investigate, using whatever tags you have in place.
Have I had time to get out from under the pistol whipped status?
I will say, that you have, if I'm not mistaken, don't you have from the attack that you did earlier? No, you didn't change the game, which is where you get the juice. Sorry. I will say that you've had enough time to kind of brush your head off and shake us a bit of that. So we'll say you reduce that by 1.
Okay.
It's still kind of sore. So, investigate and go ahead and use the appropriate tags, sir.
I have a lot of tags. I am an investigator.
You're a private eye. It's what you do.
So I think for this, I'm going to be using Private Dick, knows every street, asking questions, logical deduction, when I see it, I'll know, and bullshit detector.
Oh man, I love all of those. I'm gonna ask that we invoke one other tag on there for you, a weakness tag.
I was already going to say I think my weakness, sleepless nights, applies to this.
I think that's a good one too.
Did you have another one in mind?
I would say you're asking questions around like a fella would, that perhaps in certain situations when you're asking questions of people, you might stick out a bit. What do you think?
So, like a sore thumb.
Like a sore thumb. What do you think?
That sounds right.
Sounds about right. All right, go ahead
so
and apply all
It's a
those.
+6 and a -3.
Okay.
Would the clue of Midas Touch give me a bonus?
If you burn the clue, you could ask. You would get. Yeah, it would help you out. If you burn the clue, you can definitely use that to overcome some status and things like that. But it's up to you. You got you're losing. You've got 6, but you're losing 3.
Correct.
Well, it's still a power of 3. It's pretty good.
All right.
What do you think? It's kind of
All
hard
right,
to
we're
put
gonna
a clue of, hey, have you seen anybody touch somebody and turn them to gold? I mean, it's kind of on the nose there.
That's why he sticks out like a sore thumb. All right, we're going to investigate with the power of 3.
All right.
Yay, 11.
Hey, all right. Yeah, that's a really great success. So, doing what you do, knocking door to door, asking questions. You spend a few hours asking about finances, knowing the places that that our man Frank hangs out at. You think uptown, then you decide. Frank got to start down in the row, and that's a good place for you to go to, especially if he's either putting on airs or if he's trying to score money. He's using thugs. The row is going to have more of those than uptown.
Maybe
So-
there's a trail I can follow to who he's borrowing money from or who he's trying to affect the finances of.
Yep. As you start to ask some questions, tapping into some of the people that you know, like informants and people that you have on in your real personal Rolodex, in that journal you keep. One of the guys, he tells you Jimmy, no last name. I ran with some of his crew job maybe about a month ago. No, wasn't that long ago. It was a couple weeks ago, actually. About the time that big storm came through, We jump in. We go do this simple. It's just a simple grab and go, real quick, jewelry store, just on the outsides of downtown. No big deal. We bust in, and Frank himself is there with us. I watch as the jeweler comes out. He's waving his hands at Frank and says, I've got him. There's no need for this. I won't even charge you for it. We're all thinking he's making wristwatches or rings or something like that. Frank gives the man this dead stare right in the eyes, doesn't even break, doesn't blink. He says, yeah, I know I'm not going to pay for him. And he reaches out and he grabs the man by the front of his coat. And as he does, I watch the whole man turn to gold. Big gold statue. Frank goes into the back and starts looking around for things. And the next thing you know, he comes out and he's got these gloves he's pulling onto his hands. And he says to himself, finally, or something like that. It's going to be good to hold a fork. I don't know what that means. But anyway. We didn't say a thing. That's it. I don't know how he did it. Some chemical or something he sprayed on the guy. I've never seen somebody turn to gold. The guy just stopped. It was the weirdest thing.
All right. I believe you. But you
Good.
probably don't want to tell anybody else.
I haven't.
This is between you, me, and the dirt.
I'll go to my grave with this one. Anything
So-
else I can help you with?
What was it the jeweler was giving him at no charge?
I don't know. Like I said, he went to the back, he came out, he had on the gloves. He didn't have them when we went in.
You think it was the gloves?
That was the only thing I saw that he took. He let us take whatever we wanted to.
All right.
I
Thanks.
got a nice watch. You need
Yeah.
a watch? I got a watch. You need look. And he opens up his jacket and you see a couple pocket watches in there. I got a good watch. They keep
I
good
try
time.
not to wear anything that sets my clothes on fire.
Oh, I get it. That's good. That's good. Well, listen, you ever need anything, you let Jimmy know, okay?
Thanks, Jimmy. You're a pal.
Yeah. You didn't see me, I don't know you, we didn't have to talk. And with that, he kind of slinks down the alleyway. With one more clue in hand, information found out that Frank isn't to be trusted. Our party convenes back at the professor's office. Next week, find out, is it gold or is it iron pyrite, fool's gold? Is Frank hiding something in the gloves or is it real? What's with this ability that he has? Is he another riff like the rest of them? Until next time, my name is Heath. I am the MC for Obscurum. I am joined by the just magnificently talented Rev Deshane, Nyx Tesseract, Carl Jordan, and Colton Mason. That is Dr. Alexander White, Yvonne Calloway, Jack Kased, and Professor Robert Owens. This has been Obscurum, a new show on Nerdsmith. We were doing a giveaway for the dice. Did we go ahead and get the winner? I would love to announce that. We're going to see if we got that coming up here pretty soon. Don't forget, we are doing this. Rylan, is it pronounced Rylan TV? You have won. Congratulations. So we'll be back again next week, Wednesday, same time, 6 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Pacific. Don't forget this weekend, set your clocks back. November 3rd. That's on Sunday. Don't miss it. In the meantime, you can check me out at Dire Bear AC. You can find Rev at Rev Deshane. You can find Nyx at Nyx Tesseract. Carl is at RPG Carl. And our own Colton at Colton, is it Z9?
Z9, yes.
Yes. On Twitter and on the places around there and there. Again, this is Nerdsmith. You can find them at Nerdsmith, I believe, if I am correct. It has been an absolute pleasure. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you next week. Good night, everyone.